Thank you.
Thank you so much, both Dr. Naveed Ahmed Lon for your insightful session, and also thanks to Dr. Fatima for coordinating the session smoothly. So before this, now we are starting our second session for today, and Dr. Neha Guleria will coordinate the session. Dr. Neha is assistant professor at Lingyas Vidyapeeth, Faridabad. Dr. Neha, over to you. Please introduce our next speaker, Dr. Supriya Lam.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening to all. On behalf of J&K Economic Association, and I, Dr. Neha Guleria, School of Commerce and Management, Lingyas Vidyapeeth, welcomes you all for our 10 days workshop series. We are thrilled to have each of you here as we embark on this learning journey and growth together. Before proceeding further, let me introduce our resource person of the day, Dr. Supriya Lamba Sahdev. She is a certified trained academician, researcher, and a certified coach with more than 12 years of experience in the field of marketing and international business. She is currently working as Associate Professor and HOD Marketing and Head of International Office at ISBR Business School, Bengaluru. She has done double bachelor in commerce and education and also the masters in similar fields. She has completed PhD in management and having 50 plus publications in UGC and Scopus Index journals. She has chaired more than 6 international conferences and list is everlasting. I heartily welcome you, ma'am.
Many thanks, Dr. Neha, and big thanks to Dr. Firdaus Malik and Dr. Owais for giving me this opportunity. With your due permission, I would like to share my screen.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you can share, please.
So to share with each one of you, we'll be having, I should say, a bird's eye view upon the qualitative research methods. And we'll be talking about them specifically focusing upon the social sciences domain. So first thing first, we'll be talking about, qualitative research. No doubt, most of us, those who are in this particular session knows that it is a methodological approach, which is used to gain a lot of understanding, especially of underlying, reasons, opinions, and motivations. And indeed, it focuses on exploring the phenomena in an in-depth way by capturing, the experiences that people have undergone, the beliefs, the attitudes, and of course, the emotions that they have. So this is very different from, the quantitative research, if you ask me, that majorly relies on, the numerical data in case of quantitative, and of course, the statistical analysis. So here, when we talk about the qualitative research, it uses more of, interviews, focus groups, observations, and of course, those textual analysis in which where, you actually not just, analyze words, but you also analyze videos for that matter in any which, form. And no doubt, when we talk about, these words, these audios, these videos, you are gathering something which is rich, something which is more descriptive, in terms of, information. And when I am talking about, this particular, definitions which are here in front of you that have been given by, stalwarts, I would like to discuss with you one specific, definition that has been given by the very first, author, which is right here in front of you. That is Dr. Norman. And when I'm talking about it, it goes like this, that it talks about quantitative, or rather qualitative research, which is, you can say, a situated activity. That's how he described. And he, actually called it as, a place, a location where the observation took place. And, when he is talking about this all, he is mentioning and throwing a lot of light on, what it consists of. When he is talking about it, he's throwing light upon, set of some interpretives, material, that is being used that make the world visible. And he is, referring to it as, some practices that are transforming this particular world. And he's saying that, the practices that are being used are actually, in a way, are series of representations. And these series usually include, things like field notes, interviews, or you can say conversations, even, for that matter, a picture that has been clicked, or recording that has been made, or maybe, a memos, that you have prepared maybe for yourself. So this is what is the definition of the qualitative, research that he came up with, and rather the definition. Moving on, to what we have here with us, and I'm going to be talking about it, specifically from the perspective of, qualitative research. And no doubt, when we talk about conducting, this qualitative research, especially at universities and institution level worldwide, this is into existence, from last 20th century, if you ask me. And it has its roots that can be tracked back even further. So when we talk about, its immersion, it's coming up, as a distinct, methodological approach. No doubt, it has gained a lot of momentum there, especially after the mid 20th century. And specifically, in the field, you can say, such as, anthropology, sociology, psychology, education, and at the same time, health sciences. So when we talk about, the importance, first thing first that comes to my mind, which is on the screen also, that is understanding the complexity. No doubt, qualitative research follows, or rather I should say, it allows, that window, to the researchers, where they can explore, even complex phenomena in their natural settings. So it basically provides, if you ask me, a lot of insights. It provides a lot of insights, specifically, in the intricacies, of humans, and specifically, from the perspective of human behavior, human experience, you can say, customer experience, you can say, CX, and even at the same time, the kind of social interactions that are taking place. And otherwise, when we look at this all, which I just mentioned, cannot be done in case of, quantitative, research methodology. So here, when we talk about this, the second point talks about it all, that is depth of understanding. So when we are talking about qualitative research, no doubt, it is emphasizing a lot of, in-depth exploration, a lot of interpretation there, a lot of, covering, underlying meanings. It really helps to capture, the motivations, the context, you can say, that in a way shape, the individuals, or you can say a group's perspective. And at the same time, the behavior, which is very important in today's scenario, which is being required to be read and understood by multiple, MNCs, keeping in mind that this behavior only is deciding what, product they are going to be coming up in near future. So this is important for us as a researcher to understand. And at the same time, when we talk about, the contextual understanding, it is very important that you look at it, from the perspective of qualitative research, which is indeed, very well suited for, studying the social as well as, the cultural, context in which, India is indeed very rich in. And when we are talking about it, it no doubt, helps researchers in not just understanding the social structures, the norms, that are there, and the historical, factors that are, no doubt influencing the individuals as well as the communities. And yes, indeed, when we are talking about qualitative, research, it helps us to come up with hypotheses. So it basically, you can say, precedes the quantitative studies, and it helps to generate hypotheses, or you can say refine, the research questions, which are usually part of the research methodology. And it usually provides a lot of, foundation there for doing the, or taking the research further, investigation further, and at the same time, maybe, coming up with a theory, if you wish to develop there. At the same time, when we talk about qualitative research, it is well known for theory building. No doubt, it offers a lot of, rich descriptions. It, have a lot of explanations there, especially which are grounded in real world context. And that's why we have the grounded theory also a part of the same. So when we talk about it, it really helps in developing, you can say, the theoretical, frameworks that can guide not just, future research, but at the same time, the kind of practical applications that are there. Indeed, when we talk about qualitative, research, it complements the quantitative research, and it provides, a lot of deeper, understanding of the quantitative, facts. And at the same time, it offers a lot of insights, that helps in understanding, specifically certain patterns, relationships that are existing, and at the same time helping, kind of, you can say, conceptualizing the statistical data. Likewise, when we are talking about it, it is important that we also understand this from the perspective of the next pointer that talks about, applied and practical insights. And when we are talking about this, it is majorly about, findings, of qualitative research, which are, often used to not just, inform policymakers, practitioners, and at the same time, some interventions that are required, in different sectors, different fields. So when we talk about qualitative research, we can say that indeed, it provides a lot of valuable insights for designing programs, for improving services, and at the same time, addressing these societal changes, that are taking place, around us, keeping in mind that we are, in the era where everything is driven by technology. So overall, if you ask me, the qualitative research, no doubt, is very crucial, specifically for advancing the knowledge in the domain of social sciences, humanities, and it enhances, our understanding of human behavior, societal dynamics, and at the same time, the cultural practices. And all of this ultimately, you can say, is contributing to, helping us in taking, maybe informed decisions. And at the same time, there is a lot of societal change that is taking place in and around us. So these are some of the things that I wanted to cover when we talk about, the importance of qualitative research. Moving on. So now I'm taking you to my next slide. I'm sorry, something wrong. All right. Okay. Why the slide is not moving? Yeah. So when we talk about, the qualitative research, no doubt, there are certain examples which are very important for each one of us to understand before we move towards, the methods that are used, for under qualitative research. And, there are certain tools which are commonly used. There are certain tools which are rarely used, which we will be discussing. And of course, we'll be talking about, certain journals, which you all can target when we talk about qualitative research. And that is the real life examples. So we have market research as the very first, real life example of qualitative research. So when we talk about qualitative methods, specifically like you can say focus groups or in-depth, interviews, they are used to not just understand, the consumer preferences, and but also, the kind of attitudes they have towards products, and even their, decision-making process. So this example is coming, right from heart, by keeping in mind that I'm a marketeer. So I'm sharing this with you. Next one, if you can see, it's talking about healthcare, and no doubt, qualitative research really helps exploring, patients' experiences. Again, this is CX, this is customer experience, and it is in the industry, that is service industry, that is healthcare. Again, a lot of papers are there when we talk about social sciences domain. And yes, when we are, gathering data, about patients' experience, maybe with illness or, their treatments, the kind of perspectives that they have, what maybe on the, healthcare services that are being offered to them, and even their interactions, with the healthcare, providers. No doubt, this all is nothing but an example of, the qualitative research methods, or rather collection of qualitative data. So we all are from the field of education. So I thought that I'll be putting this example there. Qualitative, studies no doubt examine not just the teaching methods, student engagement, their learning outcomes, and often through, observations and yes, first-hand data, to be collected, which Dr. Naved, my predecessor in this particular session, put a lot of light upon, and he gave a lot of, importance to it, a lot of weight there. So the interview methods, especially between the educators and the students, and the analysis of all the educational materials is something which is, again, something has been given a lot of importance by the researchers in today's scenario, especially pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, multiple papers have been, published in the social sciences domain with the help of qualitative data. Other than this, yes, of course, social sciences is the domain that we are talking about, in today's scenario, and researchers in fields like sociology, anthropology, and psychology, they are, big time using qualitative approaches to make sure that they are able to study, the cultural practices, the social behaviors, even, for that matter, the kind of psychological phenomena, through participant observations, interviews, and even textual analysis that are happening in today's scenario. Other than this, yes, it is important for us to understand that organizational studies also is an excellent example. Why? Because qualitative research is indeed, is helping to investigate the organizational culture, and at the same time, the leadership styles, the employees' motivation, the workplace dynamics, specifically through interviews, through focus groups, and at the same time, even in the form of case studies in today's scenario. We cannot, let go of, an excellent example that talks about, mass communication and even media. So when we talk about, qualitative methods, no doubt, they help big time in analyzing the media content, that is there, the kind of, audience reception, and even the impact of, communication strategies through the, textual analysis, interviews, with the media producers or consumers, or maybe, through ethnocentric or ethnographic, research, which is usually done. So when we are talking about it, it is very important, it becomes very important for us to also look at it, which, Dr. Naved actually mentioned about, the recent, election results. So political science, is another example that I took up here, just to, share with you, to make you understand that, how exactly it is and how it is, helping. So when we are talking about qualitative, research, no doubt it is used to understand the voters' behavior, even the political ideologies, the policy making processes, and public opinions, specifically through, some frequently used, methods, which are interviews, focus groups, and even, document analysis. So all these, examples that I've just, shared with you, they are applied across all disciplines to explore, the complex phenomena. And they no doubt help us to uncover, insights, to provide, a very deep understanding of, you can say, human behavior, attitudes, and social dynamics, in a nutshell. Taking you further now and talking about, something really important and something very interesting. So when we are talking about, this, I am now taking you through the methodologies that are being used, when we talk about the qualitative, research. The very first one, if you can see, is case research. And when we are talking about case research, case study research to be precise, so on my screen, if you can see, I have, given you a small explanation on the same. And at the same time, I have shared an excellent paper on it, which each one of you can, go through. I have shared, the link to it. And yes, I have made sure that, the PDF of this is available to each one of us. So when we talk about, the case study research, you really need to understand that this is one of the best qualitative, research methodology, especially within the social sciences. And a case study usually, helps us to analyze, maybe through several methods that allow, all the researchers to not just dwell deeply into a particular, case which is under the study, but at the same time, it really helps us to understand the real life context of a particular situation. And yes, of course, it provides very deep understanding of the phenomena, which is really required in today's scenario. And a lot of, I rather should say that, there are thousands of papers, which are there into publication when we are talking about it, from the perspective of case study research. So this is one of the prominent ways in which, qualitative research is being, published. The another excellent way that we have is ethnography. This is another methodology. And when we are talking about it, this is actually an approach, if you ask me. And when we are looking at it, you can say ethnographic research really helps in analyzing, the qualitative research methodology part, within the social sciences. And it involves a lot of, you can say, distinct methods, that enable the researchers to not just interpret but at the same time understand, the cultural context there, the behaviors there, and at the same time, the social dynamics, that are observed, in their study settings. I'm sorry, the picture is not reflecting. It is still, buffering. I'm taking you forward. So I have shared with every type or every method, that is being used under qualitative. I have shared one link, and at the same time, that is the link to the paper, and of course, a screenshot of the paper, which you can always refer to. And when we are talking about this, I believe it is time that I take you through, something very interesting and which is being used very popularly, and rather I should say widely, and that is the grounded theory. And when we are talking about grounded theory, I believe it is important for you to understand that grounded theory is something which is very important, which is being used by researchers. And no doubt, it helps in analyzing, the social sciences domain, especially when it comes to, going with a very systematic method to develop, not just theories, but at the same time, the conceptual frameworks. So this grounded theory really helps you with the empirical data. And when we talk about the grounded theory, it is important for you to understand that it begins with open coding, where, the researchers very systematically breaks down, qualitative data, that is interviews, or you can say, the field notes, into something which is very discrete, maybe units, of, you can say, meaning. And, they become the codes, which represents concepts, or you can say themes, from where, you can say the data has actually emerged. And then, it helps the participant in capturing, their perspectives, their actions, and at the same time, the kind of interactions, that they have got. So it is very important, way of doing, or rather, I should say, analyzing the qualitative data set that you have received. Moving on to the next one, we have got the phenomenology, that is again, a methodology which is very important and very, widely used. And when we are talking about it, it is important for you to know that analyzing phenomenology in qualitative research methodology, and within specifically, social sciences, really involves specific methods. And when we are, aiming to do so, you are basically not just exploring, but at the same time, you are interpreting, individuals' experiences that they have lived. And it's about, subjective perceptions of maybe a phenomena. So researchers, usually practice bracketing here in this particular case to temporarily, set aside, you can say their preconceptions, or maybe, their biases. And at the same time, any theoretical assumptions, that are there about a particular, phenomena that they are studying. So this particular, methodology really allows them not just to approach the data with a lot of openness. I'm sorry. All right.
Please continue, ma'am. Please continue.
All right. So I was saying that, it really helps you to open up there, share your thoughts, and, and focus on, what the participants, that are, contributing to your research have there in terms of, have there in terms of their experiences. So which is very subjective in nature. And you are doing this without any undue influence, especially from the external factors. So this is an important way of doing it. And when we talk about the phenomenological, analysis, it usually begins with, you can say an in-depth interview, and it aims at, getting rich descriptions, of the, participants, those who are contributing in your study. And these are specifically, as I have mentioned earlier, lived experiences. And researchers usually use, very open-ended questions here, and they usually encourage, participants to reflect on their, perceptions, their emotions, even, even for that matter, there are meanings, that are attached to that particular phenomena. So that's what usually happens when we talk about, or, happens under the phenomenology. Taking you to the next, part, that is the narrative research part. And when we are talking about, narrative research, it becomes very important, for every one of us to understand that narrative research is all about, narration. So it is about, a qualitative research methodology. specifically, tailored, you can say, or altered, you can say, to understand and interpret, an individual's, stories. And at the same time, it is about, their personal accounts. Again, it is about their lived experiences. So narrative analysis, is a very unique way where, the researcher gets engaged with a narrative or a narration, to not just, identify, but at the same time analyze, the kind of structure, content, themes, which are there within, an individual's narratives. And the researcher here usually, explores how stories are constructed, and maybe we can say, the plots are developed. So this is all about, you can say, characterizations, and at the same time, you can say, narrative arc, the overall narrative arc, that is the flow in the narration, that really helps in shaping the meaning and the interpretation of experiences. So when we talk about narrative analysis or narration, or maybe you can say identifying the narrative elements, here the researcher is usually, identifying maybe the key elements, maybe such as, you can say plot, story plot. That talks about, the sequence of events. This happened first, and then later on this happened, and then finally talking about, the settings, that is the context in which this all has happened, that is in the settings in which the event has occurred. And at the same time, in that particular event, who all were the characters, who all were involved, who are the individuals, those who contributed in that particular event. And finally, the individuals must have, given some message or the other. So what is the underlying message there? What is their motive? That becomes the ultimate theme. So whatever they have spoken becomes the voice. And this is nothing but the perspective, you can say, from which the story has been told. So these all elements, when we talk about, really help in understanding, you can say, how individuals, construct, how they convey, their experiences through a story. So I'm sorry, the screenshots that I have attached of the papers are still buffering, but I'll be making sure that I'll be sharing my, presentation with Dr. Firdaus, ensuring that each one of you gets the same. I'm taking you now through my next slide that talks about, action research. And when we talk about action research, as the name itself says, it is about a lot of action there. So it is about, things that have happened. So it is about analyzing, specific methods, that are aiming to understand, and at the same time, lot of, evaluation that is associated with processes that are related to outcomes, that are related to maybe impacts, especially of any sort of, interventions that have taken place, or you can say changes that have been implemented in the real life, settings. And when we talk about action research, it is more about, you can say, emphasizing upon, the ongoing reflection and the documentation, you can say, of the research processes. So here, when we are talking about this, researchers, usually maintain a lot of, detailed records of, the activities. Likewise, we do in our day-to-day life. So, we make sure that we have documented, all our activities. Likewise, researchers also, document based on the activities, the decisions, and even the changes, that have been implemented throughout, the research cycle. And they capture, the kind of evolution that is taking place because of the intervention and its outcomes. So just as a quick, input here, because of the change in the government, what exactly has happened to the government employees? To share with you, one of my student, is from Bihar, and because of, a change in the government there, his father is a government employee and he has not received, salary from last 3 months. So it is just an action research, that one can undergo because of a change, what exactly has impacted. Now, talking about and taking you through, I'm taking you now to my, next, type, which is very important, and that is, discourse analysis. And when we are talking about discourse analysis, it is important that you understand that it is about, specific methods. It is about, about examining, you can say, language use, or you can say maybe, any specific kind of, communication patterns that have been used, and at the same time, the kind of social interactions that are taking place, to understand how meaning is constructed and conveyed. So here the researchers, very systematically analyze the text. It can be a written document, it can be a transcript, it can be a video content. And what they try to understand, or you can say they want to identify here, is patterns. They try to, identify themes here. They try to understand the structures here. And it is through the language that has been used in these collaterals, in these, creatives. So this usually involves a lot of examining, maybe you can say, what words have been used. That means the word choice. It can be syntax. It can be, any other, device that have been used to understand how meaning is constructed here. And that is why when we are talking about discourse analysis, it is majorly about, emphasizing, the importance of context here, especially in understanding the language usage. So researchers here, are considered to understand and dig deep about the socio-cultural, the historical, or maybe you can say the political contexts, especially in which the discourse occurs. And at the same time, the researchers are bound to examine how these factors are actually influencing the meaning as well as the interpretation of the texts. So this is what discourse analysis is all about. Taking you further now, talking about something very interesting, and that is the participatory research. And whenever we are talking about participatory research, it becomes very important, for each one of us to understand that here it is more about, people, those who are contributing in it, people, those who are taking part in the research. And it is about collaboration, with these people that I just mentioned about. It is about co-construction of knowledge. It is about, you can say, active involvement of, your participants throughout, the research process that you have. And here, when we are talking about research, here, when we are talking about participants, we are talking about working together. And they are working together majorly to analyze the data. And this collaborative approach really ensures, that the interpretations and even, for that matter, the conclusions reflects the participants' perspective. It reflects, the experiences that they have undergone. It also helps, in enhancing, you can say, the validity, the kind of relevance, which is there, specifically, of the findings that the study has come up with. And when we talk about, this all, it is very important for you, for all of us rather, to understand that here, when we talk about participatory research, it is majorly about, both the researcher as well as the participants to maintain a lot of, reflexive, reflexive, to document, these thoughts. You really required reflections and insights throughout the research process. And, these journals, when I talk about, really help you, to capture the evolving understandings, highlight, a lot of, critical movements, and at the same time provides a lot of, basis for even, collection analysis. So, I am now taking further, and we are now talking about, something very, very interesting, something which is, adopted very widely by researchers, and that is the focus group. And when we are talking about focus group, it becomes very important, that you understand that it is majorly about people coming together. It is majorly about, maybe interpreting, and you can say understanding the collective that is together, perspective, or you can say the interactions that are taking place, the discussions that are emerging, out of groups. And this happens because of the discussion that they do. So when we are talking about, focus groups, the researchers usually, you can say, transcribe, they jot down, they make transcripts of the audio, they make, transcripts of the video recordings, of all these, focus group discussions, that they usually make, ensure that, it happens. And they make sure that there is accuracy when we talk about, transcriptions, that is the transcripts that they make. Why? Because it is very important to capture, you can say, the nuances, the language, and even the interactions, that are taking place, among the participants. And here, the participants are are somebody, the researchers put their entire focus upon. The researchers not just identify, but they also analyze, the recurring themes, that is words that are being repeated, by the participants of the focus groups, the kind of patterns that are taking place, the kind of topics, that they are talking about again and again. And this usually involves, coding the data, and maybe you can say categorizing, them into themes. And at the same time, examining, how different themes, relate to the research questions and the research objectives that you have mentioned there, in your research methodology. Likewise, when we talk about focus groups, researchers are, required to be very systematic. They're supposed to, do their analysis in a very systematic fashion, keeping in mind, the content of focus group discussions. Specifically, they need to make sure that they have to quantify, the frequency of the words that are being repeated, and the context, of specific words, in which they have been spoken. If there are any phrases that are being used, any topics that have been mentioned again and again. So under this particular focus groups, they really need to identify the dominant, the active, themes, the active patterns, in the data. So this is one of the very widely used, method. And I must, share this with you that under this particular, methodology, although triangulation is used in other methods also. So researchers here, use triangulation method to validate not just their findings, by integrating the data from multiple sources or methods. And triangulation, really helps them in enhancing the credibility, at the same time, the reliability of the analysis by collaborating the findings across different data sets. So this is what is being done under the focus group, if you ask me. So just to simplify the understanding of yours, when we talk about triangulation, so it is about if you are interviewing one person from the organization, it becomes difficult for you to cross check the same. And if you are interviewing maybe 3 or 4 people from the same organization, you can cross check the data, and that really helps you to increase not just the reliability, but at the same time the validity of your data. Taking you further, now I'm going to be talking about, the content analysis. And when we are talking about the same, it is very important, that we put focus on a very systematic method, which is there, which helps to interpret, which helps to understand not just the meanings, but also the themes, the patterns, within the textual context, even visual context, and at the same time, audio data. So when we are talking about the content analysis, this is being done, with the help of multiple, technologies also, and multiple languages also in today's scenario. Researchers, usually develop a coding, scheme here, and they categorize the data into something which is called as, you can say meaningful units. And coding usually involves, labeling, and you label a segment, of the text, or maybe you can say an image or a audio, and you do this all, on the basis of, maybe their content or maybe their meaning. So codes, can be predetermined. That means you are following a deductive pattern, or they can emerge out of from the data. That means it is inductive in nature. So when we talk about, content analysis, no doubt, in a way, you go for thematic analysis. And here, you are identifying and analyzing, a theme which is recurring, or maybe a pattern that is recurring in the data. And it involves usually, grouping, you can say similar codes, together. And you are doing this to form, maybe broader themes that really helps you to capture the essence, the very fundamental, important part of the data. And this really helps in understanding, the underlying messages and even the concepts that are there. So researchers, when we talk about content analysis, which has, really picked up well when we talk about qualitative research methods, it helps in quantifying, the occurrences of specific words, phrases, or for that matter, themes, within the data. Even the frequency analysis really helps in identifying, any dominant theme, that is there, or maybe a dominant topic that is there for measuring, how often they appear. So this is about, content analysis. I'm taking you now to the next important part of, my today's presentation. And when I'm talking about it, it is very important for us to understand that, why, these tools are required. And when you are talking about, these tools, some of them I'm sure must be familiar to you, especially the NVivo one, the Atlas, TI. Even, there are many other, that are very frequently used by researchers when we talk about, qualitative research methodologies in social sciences domain. So we'll be talking about them one by one. So talking about, the WebQDA. So when we are talking about it, it is important that you understand that WebQDA is something that is really important, in today's scenario. And when we are talking about it, it is majorly about, a tool and a technique, or rather I should say a software that is being used. And when we talk about WebQDA, it is really, helping us in not just analyzing, the text, but also, the images, the videos, the audios, and also at the same time, the tables, the PDF files, and yes, of course, the YouTube videos, which are very important for each one of us. In today's scenario, when we look at it, from the perspective of qualitative data. The next one that we have is Sonic. And when we talk about Sonic, it becomes important, that we understand that it is again, an automated, transcription, software. And when we are talking about this particular software, it is helping us not just to, convert audios and videos, but it is also helping us to make sure that whatever the, researchers are requiring in terms of, quickly converting the transcripts and, analyzing them, that is being done, with the help of Sonic. And when we talk about Sonic, it becomes, important for each one of us to understand that it is a automated, AI based qualitative data analysis, software. And it even uses a very advanced AI technology to not just increase, researchers' efficiency, but it also helps in enhancing, data reliability, and even at the same time, it mitigates the biasness. Just to share with you that, in every slide of mine, I have used, the purpose, the feature, the use of it, and at the same time, I have used the link, there of every software. Just to ensure that each one of you gets to have an access of the same, I have shared a paper with you, very recent ones, in order to ensure that you try to, learn about every tool, you try to, gauge more information on the same, and yes, you are able to use it. The next one that we have is, SurveyMonkey, and I believe each one of you knows about, SurveyMonkey. This is very frequently used, and even our students, at times use it. It is, you can say, an experience management company, that is there, which offers, cloud-based, services. And it basically helps, to capture not just the product experience, employee experience, customer experience, but at the same time, online surveys, that it really helps us with. Taking you further, we have Evernote. And when I talk about Evernote, this is about, the notes that are, being taken. And when we talk about Evernote, this is something which is, part and parcel of the qualitative techniques and qualitative methods, in which the data has been collected. No doubt it is about, note taking and organizing your data well. Taking you further, it is about Transcribe Me. It is a professional paid service which really helps you to, transcribe your qualitative data. Taking you further, RQDA, I believe this is something which is frequently used again. And when we are talking about it, it is important that we understand that this is one important, R package, especially for, the qualitative data analysis. And when we are using this, it really helps us in multiple things. And yes, of course, it really helps, in making sure that the coding, the memoing becomes very easy, especially in the R environment when you are, using it. And when we are talking about, this particular, thing, it is important that you understand that it is, one paper has been given to you. And if you can see, it really helps in understanding, multiple perceptions. Taking you further, now it is about the QDA Miner Lite. And when we are talking about it, it is very easy to use. And it is, of course, computer assisted software. And it really helps to code and at the same time analyze, your documents and your images. Taking you further, the TagWit, data is right in front of you. Again, this is about, an open source which is available specifically for text tagging tool, for the qualitative data analysis tools that are there. And it is a web-based document that helps you in, tagging. And when we are talking about it, it is important that you understand that there are papers that have been used to even, do content analysis, from the lesson plans that are created with the help of ChatGPT. And that's why, I mentioned it here so that, each one of us can read about it and, can understand that how it can be used in our daily life to make it more simpler. Taking it further, we have Ellen. And when we are talking about this, Ellen, it's important that you understand that it allows, users to not just create, but at the same time, modify there. And it helps us to modify annotations specifically for audios and even for the video data that you have. And it is specifically designed, for the analysis of, language, sign language, for that matter, and even gestures. So this is something that, companies are, especially the e-commerce companies are capturing with the help of, the cameras, with the help of, AR and VR. And it can, no doubt can be used, with videos, with audio data for the purpose of annotation. Then we have something very interesting, and that is the thematic analysis tools. There are multiple in number from QDA Miner to, Microsoft Excel. So this is just, to share with you that there are multiple papers on the same and there are multiple tools that are used for it. And if you can see, it is about, an interesting paper that talks about, qualitative elements of the world's best educational systems. A thematic analysis, which I am sure will be of interest to you all. Moving on, we have Transana. And when we are talking about it, it is important that you understand that it has it's a software that has cutting edge, specifically for analysis of audios and video data only, to be precise. And researchers throughout, the world, when we talk about it, especially in a broad range of fields, to transcribe, even the clips, the keyword, or you can say the code, they really help, to analyze and create, reports, especially on the qualitative data that is there. Talking about, my next, that is CAQDAS. And when we are talking about it, it is important, that each one of you knows that this is no doubt, a software that is, is including, NVivo, Atlas TI, and MaxQDA. No doubt, it helps in coding, analysis of qualitative data. Again, I'm taking you further that talks about, hyper research. And this is one important, you can say software that is helping, in today's scenario, when we talk about, the specific analysis of qualitative, textuals, or you can say videos, audios, and graphic data, specifically graphic data. And it supports important, advancements when we talk about it, from the perspective of research validation, reliability, and even, generalization of quality data analysis. When we talk about Quark course, it is something important, that each one of you must knows about. And that's why, I included it here. And when we are talking about this, it is important, that that this particular, software helps in visual and intuitive coding and at the same time data management. Taking you further, DDoS, and when we are talking about it, it can be applied on text or... I'm sorry.
Please unmute. I have muted them. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. So when we talk about DDoS, it is about, even, spreadsheets to which it can be applied to, the test scores it can apply to, and even to, the demographies. Sorry. All right. Taking you
Perhaps, sir,
further.
Supriya, we can, conclude in 1 minute.
Okay, all right.
And
So Mass QDA, if you can see, is the only QDA software that offers, identical features for both Windows and Mac. This is one excellent feature that it has, and it is perfect for comprehensive qualitative data analysis, of diverse data sets. So I'm just, straight away moving on. I'm not covering Atlas TI and NVivo. I am jumping now to, the major domains with the help of which research can be done in social sciences. So these are some of the portals, or you can say links through which you can actually access social sciences papers that are there, and they have been published in the domain of qualitative research. I'm moving on to, okay, I'm sorry, it may take a minute. Okay, I am now jumping on to, yes, the top journals which one can target. It is just a summary that I've shared of just top 14 journals, which are maybe, ABDC or Scopus and are indexed in Q1. Over to you, Dr. Firdaus. And thank you so much for giving this particular opportunity.
thank you very much.
I am
So,
stop sharing now my
so
screen.
there is Neha with us. I can take the question and answer if she is able.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your insightful and enriching session. Participants, ma'am, there is one question right now.
Mhm.
Difference between narrative and phenomenology.
I'm sorry.
So there is some echo from
Difference between phenomenology and narrative.
And narrative study. Is it?
Yes, ma'am. Narrative and phenomenology.
Yes,
That question
thank you.
is from Asif Khan.
All right. Thank you so much for that particular question, Asim. So when we talk about, see, phenomenology and narrative studies, they both are, qualitative, which we just spoke about. And no doubt they are used in not just social sciences, but at the same time, they are used in, even humanities. But they have distinct, focuses. And at the same time, when we talk about, their approach also, that differs. So when we talk about phenomenology, it basically, you can say, aims to not just study, and describe a particular phenomena, and you can say they are the ones which are experienced by an individual, like for example what I experience in a day. So it is about that when we talk about phenomenology, and it is about a lot of focus which is usually put under phenomenology when we talk about lived experiences, and at the same time the kind of essence those experiences have. And at the same time, when we look at the purpose, right, you spoke about purpose other than the focus, right? So when we talk about the focus, I believe it is majorly, in case of phenomenology, it is about understanding the meaning of those experiences, and at the same time how different individuals perceive differently, and at the same time it has different sense for different people. I am not able to hear anything. It's echoing. Is it echoing only for me?
So there is problem from
No, it's
Neha
actually
side.
for everyone.
Okay.
It's not getting.
So, all right. So this was for phenomenology. And when we talk about the narrative studies, the narrative studies usually concentrate on, you can say, stories that individuals tell. So here it is all about telling. It's not about, living those experiences. And here, when we are talking about it, the narrative studies, so the narrative studies usually emphasizes, you can
It's
say
for
the,
you only, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Hello. Yes, carry on.
Yeah. So when we talk about the narrative studies, which we were talking about, it is more on, you can say, the emphasis on, the structure, the context maybe of a particular narrative. And when we talk about, you can say the purpose of narrative studies, it's majorly to understand that how individuals usually construct and at the same time communicate their you can say their identities and make sense of their their experiences, and at the same time how these stories reflect in a broader sense on the society, on the culture, and at the same time the kind of historical context that is there. Asim, I hope I have answered your question. Thank you so much, Asim.
So we encourage now participants who can ask directly questions. We can give them first opportunity because we want participants to be active and interact rather than writing on chat. So if anyone is interested, they can raise their hand and ask question directly. So it will save a lot of time by writing on chat boxes. Then somebody is reading, and after a while somebody is replying. So I encourage participants. It is your opportunity. If you are not asking here question, you cannot ask anywhere question. So you are given opportunity. Share your question. Just raise hand or unmute yourself and ask the question there. So before that, then there is one question from Priyanka Soni. She is asking how we justify reliability and validity of the qualitative research.
See, when we talk about reliability, am I audible?
Yes, please.
So when we talk about reliability, in research, it's important that we understand the importance of it, first of all. Especially when we talk about it, in qualitative research, just to share it with you, Priyanka, I did my PhD in which I interviewed only 8, SMEs, that is small and medium enterprises. And from every enterprise, I took up only, 3 people. And when I'm talking about this, it is important for you to understand that this particular part of reliability is important for each one of us to address when we are talking about our publication, whether it is an article or a research paper, or even for that matter any PhD thesis. So what I did when I did this particular interview, I made sure that there is consistency and there is dependability. These are the 2 words that you need to focus upon, and that's what I did. When I say that I interviewed 8 SMEs and I interviewed 3 people from every SME, I made sure that the same questions I asked, open-ended questions I asked, and to make sure that their answers are consistent, I asked from more than one person. So that's how you check the reliability. So it is important, for you to understand that there are, certain things, which is important, when we look at it, from the perspective of researching, especially in the qualitative research. So there are audit trials that you can do. Triangulation that I mentioned to you, is one of the ways in which, you can actually check, the part that talks about, reliability. And you can also, code and recode. This is another way in which, you can check the reliability. And of course, there is peer examination, which involves maybe your colleagues, your peers, to review and critique, your research process. And even at the same time, the findings that are there. So these are some of the ways.
So
I'm
I
sorry.
think we do not have, more questions as we are running out of time. We are having only last 1 minute.
Mhm.
Let me, have a formal, vote of thanks now.
Thank you so much, sir.
So anybody, wants to connect with the ma'am, you can just, search on LinkedIn. You can find her on Facebook also, but if it is more professional, you can reach her. Regarding the PPTs, we are going to share the PPT after the workshop and also the video recording. But after finishing this session in maybe 1 hour, we are going to share the today's photographs and all the glimpses on LinkedIn and Facebook. So let us have a formal vote of thanks now. So I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks for delivering such an insightful lecture on qualitative research. Your expertise and passion for the subject truly shown, making the complex concepts clear, and your dedication to educating us and inspiring us is truly commendable. Thank you for your valuable contribution to our learning journey and accept our, invitation at a very short notice and quick. Now, I am also, thankful for the participants for engaging in an enriching day two of our international online research methodology workshop and social science. Your active participation and valuable contributions are instrumental in creating a vibrant learning environment. Let us continue to explore, learn, and grow together in days ahead. With these words, I am thanking you. We are going to share with you all the feedback link that will be opening only for 5 minutes. So we will share that on WhatsApp. So now you are advised to leave the group because we do not have to close with the same link for the 10 days. So every participant, we are requesting you, please leave the group. Unless you will not leave the group, our video will be remaining like this. So I request you, just leave the group. Thanks.
Thank you
ma'am.
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Firdaus, for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thank you.
And meanwhile, if you are interested, you can open your camera for group photo. I forget to take group photo today, so you can take group photo. So those who are in a position to open their camera, they can only open their camera. Rest it is.
Thank you once again, Dr. Firdaus, for the wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, everyone. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. So we
Thank
are
you.
taking the photographers. I will advise you all, and I can say request to you all, just follow our LinkedIn page and Facebook page. You will get all your photographers there. Thank you.
Thanks a
You
ton.
can
Bye-bye.
leave. Okay. You can now leave the group. Okay. All of you are requested kindly leave the group because we have to close this link. Unless you are not going to leave, we will be unable to close the link. So you are advised kindly leave the group.